Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kevin Bohan, and this evening I would like to talk to you about engineering Rome. Now Rome is a civilization that was in existence for over 2,000 years. Not a lot is known about how it ended, but quite a bit is known about how it began and how they became the world's greatest superpower and largest civilization of all time. There's four aspects of Roman engineering I'd like to talk to you about. The first is transportation. Their roadways were second to none. The construction, the ideas behind them, and the engineering were phenomenal. The second is the arch. Now the arch is a structure that I'm sure you probably see every day and something that we take for granted, I'm sure. It's a phenomenal structure, very simplistic, but also extremely strong and very durable. Now something that the arch made happen is the aqueduct, the waterworks, the way that they transported water from here to there over expanses, the largest around 60 miles. The arch and the aqueducts basically allowed Rome to grow to be as large as it was in its heyday. The final is public projects. Now, I'm going to speak about one specific public project that I'm sure that you are very familiar with. Public projects, there were many of them, from emperor to emperor, generally to try and boost morale or to stroke the ego of the Roman people, to keep them knowing and understanding that they were better than those who did not live in Rome. Now, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about this picture. This is the Trevi Fountain in Rome. I just thought it was a great example of how an ancient fountain can be built. I mean, a modern building can be built right next to an ancient fountain. The Romans' engineering and architecture is still touching us to this day. Now, as I said, I wanted to discuss transportation. The roadways were absolutely wonderful. Up until this point, there was nothing more than a hunting track or a migration path. The Romans built over 50,000 miles worth of highways, basically creating an infrastructure that would allow commerce and politics and goods to travel from anywhere in the Roman Empire to Rome. It is said that all roads lead to Rome in that time. I feel like that is a very true statement. As you can see right here, the roadways are all tied in and they all end in Rome. Now, the first road, and probably the most famous, is the Via Appia. Now, the Via Appia was built and started construction in 312 BC by Appius Claudius Coccus, better known as Emperor Claudius. It ran from the southwest out of Rome, stretching far into the empire as the empire was growing. Now, the roads were built by the legions. The engineers who built these roads and designed these roads were actually your everyday soldiers, an ancient army corps of engineers, if you will. These gentlemen basically turned what was dirt paths into a wonderful highway that are still in existence today. These pictures are no more than 10 years old, and as you can see, they're still in quite good condition. They have been maintained, but minimally. The construction is basically a wall that has been buried. They would dig an enormous ditch, fill it with layers of sand and gravel until they reached a grade that they wanted, and they would cap that off with cobblestones. And now, as you can see, these cobblestones are spaced out so that there's at no point, if there's heavy rainfall or flooding, or there will not be flooding along the roadway. The water will be led off the cobblestones into the cracks, down into the gravel and sand mixture, and dissipated through the earth. If you live in Anchorage, you know that when spring thawing comes or a good rain in the summer comes, we have flooding all over the town. There's huge puddles probably in your neighborhood. So to have this engineering and this thought behind roads 2,000 years ago just blows my mind personally. The attention to detail, and they did not hold back when they constructed anything. The Romans did not. Now, I would like to talk to you about the arch. The arch is a huge staple of Roman architecture. You'll see it throughout many different pieces, bridges, aqueducts, buildings such as the Colosseum, the bathhouses throughout Rome and throughout the empire. Now the arch is a very simple structure, but as I said, a very strong and durable structure. Now how they would build an arch is they would build a wooden frame right here. And on the outer edge of that wooden frame, they would stack stones, binding those stones with mortar. Now up until this time, mortar under extreme weather conditions, rain, wind, things like that, would actually disintegrate. The Romans discovered that if they mixed in a volcanic rock as an aggregate, their mortar could withstand that weather. Now, a good example of that is this arch right here, built in 2 BC. Another, in doing my research on a website known as brightside.com, which is actually a foundation that gives grants to people to conduct research, I read an article about a bridge that, since its completion, has been in constant use. Thousands of years this bridge has been in use. It not only survived a direct bomb hit in World War II, but also an attempt by the Germans to blow it up. More recently, about 20 years ago, there was a flash flood where this is located in France. Now, the flash flood actually killed 50 people, causing $540 million worth of damage, and the bridge is still standing to this day. I think that's a good testament to the durability and construction of the Roman architecture. Now, what really made Rome happen? 1.3 million people could never have lived in one area without running water. Over 500 million gallons of water was pumped into Rome every day. That's approximately 1 meter per person every single day. That's more than most modern cities, which is a phenomenal feat. Now how it worked is the aqueducts would start up in a mountain at a spring. Now, they would cut through the mountain. They would not go around it. They would drill and dig through the mountain in order to get that water where it needed to go. The longest one was around 60 miles. Now, you may recognize this. This is an archway, part of an aqueduct. There was around 260 miles of aqueducts in the Roman Empire, and only about 30 of those miles are visible, which you don't really realize that much of it was buried or going through mountains and things like that. This is actually the Aqua Appia, which was built next to the Via Appia in 312 BC by Emperor Claudius, as I mentioned before. This is a very famous photograph. It's the El Puente Aqueduct in Spain. The aqueducts, these arches were used to span valleys and things like that. When the gravity or the gradual decline was not possible, they would build up so that the water could continue to flow downhill to get to Rome. Now that water, once it got to Rome, it was stored in enormous vats or silos basically, holding tanks at the highest points of Rome, and then dispersed to the bathhouses, fountains, water fountains, architectural fountains, and also the emperor's palace and some private residences of the rich people. Now, the Flavian Amphitheater, also known as the Colosseum. Now the Colosseum was started construction in 72 AD by the Emperor Vespasian. The dimensions are 237 feet by 135 feet, approximately 32,000 square feet, which is just around the size of the Sullivan Arena here in Anchorage, Alaska. A little compare and contrast. The Colosseum could fit over 50,000 people. Sullivan Arena can only fit around 9,000. There was 4 floors. As you got higher, that's where the lower you sat, the more wealthy or well off you were. There was approximately 100,000 cubic meters of marble needed to complete construction of this building. There was around 76 entrances and 4 more for the VIPs and the emperor and his family. Not only could 50,000 people be in this building, it could be cleared in about 5 minutes. The Colosseum is just a wonderful example of Roman architecture and engineering. It is still standing today, and the architecture was just second to none. I appreciate you giving me some of your time this evening, and I hope that if you have any questions about Rome or the engineering, you will please feel free to come and talk to me after the presentation. Thank you very much.